The airport was buzzing with the usual rush. People hurried past, checking screens, dragging luggage. Amid the chaos, Sarah's eyes caught something unusual. An old man, frail and confused, stood near the boarding gates. He seemed lost, clutching a worn-out ticket that was about to expire. No one stopped for him. Sarah glanced at the departure board. Her flight was boarding in 5 minutes, but something about the man pulled at her heart. Without thinking twice, she walked over. "Sir, are you okay? Do you need help?" she asked gently. The old man looked up, relief flooding his tired eyes. "I'm trying to find my way to Gate 12, but I don't remember if this is the right flight." Sarah knew she should rush to her own flight, but she couldn't leave him. Standing there confused and alone, she took his hand. "We'll figure it out together," she promised. Minutes passed, the crowd thickened, and Sarah's own boarding call echoed in her ears. Yet she stayed by his side, navigating through the labyrinth of terminals. Then, just as she thought she could guide him safely, a sudden announcement stopped her heart. Final boarding call for Flight 729 to New York. Her flight, the old man squeezed her hand, grateful. "Thank you, young lady. You don't know what this means to me." Sarah's eyes darted to the gate where her plane waited. Her heart pounded. She had a choice, to run for her flight or stay. A moment longer for this stranger. Suddenly her phone buzzed, a message from her boss. Important meeting postponed. "Take your time." Sarah's breath caught. Fate, it seemed, was giving her a chance to pause. As she helped the old man settle near his gate, little did she know her simple act of kindness was about to change everything, forever. But who was this man? And why had he seemed so lost in a place he should have known? The questions lingered as Sarah turned back toward her gate, missing her flight and stepping unknowingly into a mystery much bigger than herself. The airport was alive with the usual buzz of activity. People hurried in every direction, dragging their luggage behind them or clutching coffee cups and boarding passes. Announcements echoed over the loudspeakers, reminding passengers to check their gates and prepare for boarding. But among this sea of strangers, Sarah's eyes locked onto something that didn't quite fit the rush, a man standing alone near the waiting area, looking lost. He was old, with silver hair that fell thinly over his wrinkled forehead, and his clothes were worn but neat. In his trembling hands, he held a crumpled ticket, glancing at it as if trying to remember something important. Sarah's heart tightened. The man's confusion was clear. He looked scared and alone. Sarah glanced at the big clock hanging from the ceiling. Her flight was boarding in 5 minutes. Normally, she would be rushing toward her gate, eager to get on the plane and start her business trip. But something about this man stopped her in her tracks. Her phone buzzed with a reminder of her meeting, urgent and important, but Sarah ignored it. She stepped closer to the man. "Sir, are you okay?" she asked softly. "Do you need help finding your gate?" The man looked up, surprised but relieved. I'm trying to find Gate 12. This ticket says that's where I need to be, but I don't remember if this is the right flight." Sarah looked at the ticket in his hand. It was faded, but showed Flight 729 departing soon. She felt a sudden urge to help. "Come with me," she said. "I'll help you get there." The airport corridors stretched long and confusing, but Sarah guided the man gently, holding his hand as they moved through the crowds. Around them, travelers pushed past, some too busy to notice. The man's steps were slow but determined. As they walked, Sarah tried to make small talk. "Are you visiting family? Business trip?" The man smiled faintly. "No, just visiting. An old friend, someone very dear to me." The words sounded simple, but there was a sadness behind them, a story Sarah wished she could understand. Minutes ticked away, and Sarah's own boarding call echoed again through the terminal. Her heart raced. She knew she was running out of time. "Sir, we need to hurry," she urged gently. He nodded and quickened his pace, but his steps were unsteady. Finally, they reached gate 12. The man sighed with relief. "Thank you, young lady. You don't know how much this means to me." Sarah smiled, her breath catching. "I'm glad I could help." Just then, an announcement shattered the calm. "Final boarding call for Flight 729 to New York. All remaining passengers, please proceed to the gate immediately." Sarah's blood ran cold. That was her flight. Her phone buzzed again. A message from her boss. "Meeting postponed. Take your time." She stared at the message, heart pounding. The man looked at her, eyes filled with gratitude. "Please don't worry about me. I'll be fine now." But Sarah couldn't move. Something inside told her this was just the beginning. As she turned toward her gate, she realized she had missed her flight. The man's words echoed in her mind. But what surprised her most was the strange feeling that this chance encounter was not a coincidence. Waiting room, Sarah found a quiet bench nearby, still thinking about the man. Her phone showed no new messages, and the boarding gate was empty now. She watched the old man disappear through the gate doors. Something about him nagged at her mind. He seemed familiar in a way she couldn't place. Curiosity pushed her to check his ticket again. The name on it was George Whitman. A quick search on her phone brought surprising results. George Whitman wasn't just any traveler. He was a man of wealth and influence, known for owning one of the largest airline companies in the country. Sarah's heart skipped. How could this old man, standing lost and confused, be the owner of the airline? Her thoughts raced. Was this a trick, a coincidence, or something far stranger? Flashback. A quiet life. Sarah closed her eyes for a moment and thought about her own life. She wasn't wealthy or famous. She worked as an assistant in a small marketing firm. Her days were routine. Wake up early, work long hours, and rush to catch flights like this one. She never imagined that missing one flight just to help a stranger could turn her world upside down. Unexpected contact. Her phone rang suddenly, startling her. The caller ID showed a private number. "Hello," Sarah answered cautiously. A calm voice replied, "Ms. Sarah, this is David Miller, George Whitman's assistant. Mr. Whitman asked me to contact you." Sarah's heart pounded. "How do you know me?" "You helped Mr. Whitman today at the airport. He wanted to personally thank you but couldn't reach you before you left." Sarah swallowed hard. I didn't think it was a big deal." David chuckled softly. "For Mr. Whitman, it's more than that. He wants to invite you to meet him. There's something important he wants to discuss." Sarah looked around, still feeling a mix of confusion and excitement. "Can I ask what this is about?" she ventured. "That's something only Mr. Whitman can explain. But I assure you, it's urgent and very private." A decision to make. Sarah sat back, her mind spinning. She missed her flight, helped a stranger who turned out to be a billionaire, and now she was being invited to a meeting she never expected. Her instinct was to say no, to stick with her original plan. But something told her this was a moment she couldn't ignore. She nodded to herself. "Okay, I'll meet Mr. Whitman." As she hung up, a wave of nervous excitement washed over her. The journey begins. Sarah left the airport lounge, ready to discover what mystery awaited her. She had no idea that helping a lost old man would unlock a story filled with secrets, danger, and life-changing surprises. One thing was certain. Her life was about to change forever. Cliffhanger. But what was George Whitman really hiding? And why? Did fate bring Sarah to him at that precise moment? The answers lay ahead, in the shadows of an unexpected journey, one that Sarah was only beginning to understand. Sarah's hands trembled slightly as she gripped the steering wheel, driving away from the airport and into the early evening traffic. Her mind raced, replaying the call from David Miller over and over. An invitation from George Whitman, the billionaire airline owner she had helped just hours ago. It felt unreal, like a sudden door opening into a world she never imagined. A small apartment where she lived felt quieter than usual when she arrived. She set down her bag and sank into the worn couch, staring at her phone. She had no idea what awaited her at the meeting. Was it a reward, a job offer, or something more complicated? A mysterious message. Her phone buzzed again. This time it was a message from an unknown number. Meet me tomorrow at 10 a.m. at the Whitman Aviation Headquarters. Ask for George Whitman. No sender's name, just a location and a time. Sarah's heart pounded with a mix of excitement and fear. Could she really trust this? What if it was a trap? But curiosity was stronger than fear. She decided to go. Morning of the meeting. The next morning, Sarah woke up early. She dressed in her usual smart, casual attire, but added a small pendant necklace, something her mother had given her for luck. The drive to the Whitman Aviation Headquarters was surreal. Huge glass buildings towered on either side of the road, gleaming in the morning sun. The company's logo, a stylized wing, was emblazoned on the main building's facade. As she stepped inside the lobby, she felt like she had entered a different world. Employees in sharp suits moved with purpose, and large screens displayed flight schedules and company news. A receptionist directed her to the elevator, telling her Mr. Whitman was waiting on the 18th floor. Meeting George Whitman. The elevator doors opened to a spacious office where George Whitman sat behind a large mahogany desk. He looked much younger than Sarah had expected. His silver hair was neatly combed back, and his eyes were sharp but kind. "Sarah," he said, standing up to shake her hand. "Thank you for coming." Sarah nodded, trying to steady her nerves. "I'm glad you reached out." George smiled. "I wanted to meet the woman who showed kindness when I was vulnerable." He motioned for her to sit, then leaned forward. "There's a reason I was confused at the airport," he began. "I suffer from early-stage dementia. Some days are harder than others." Sarah's heart ached. "I'm sorry to hear that." George waved a hand. "Don't be. It's made me think about what's truly important." A secret to reveal, George pulled out a small, worn notebook from his drawer and handed it to Sarah. "This belonged to my late wife, Emily. She kept it hidden from everyone. Inside are notes about a secret project we worked on, something that could change the airline industry forever." Sarah opened the notebook carefully. Pages were filled with handwritten ideas, sketches, and plans, but one page caught her eye. A faded photograph of a young girl, no older than 10. "Who is she?" Sarah asked. George's eyes darkened. "My daughter Lily. She disappeared 10 years ago. No one knows what happened to her." The unexpected request. Sarah looked up, stunned. "That's terrible. What can I do to help?" George sighed. "I'm not just asking for help. I want you to find Lily." Sarah's breath caught. "Me? Why me?" "Because you were kind to a stranger," George said. "You showed the compassion and courage that I need for this task." He slid an envelope across the desk. "Inside is everything we have on Lily's disappearance. I want you to start searching." The first clue. Sarah left the office, clutching the envelope, her mind spinning. The case was much bigger than she had imagined. Back in her apartment, she spread out the papers on her table. Old photos, police reports, and a map marked with locations. One place stood out, a small town 2 hours away called Maple Ridge. It was the last place Lily was seen. A difficult decision. Sarah's phone buzzed. A message from her boss. "Your project is on hold. Take as much time as you need." It was a sign. She packed a small bag. Her heart was heavy, but her resolve was firm. She had to find Lily, not just for George, but for herself. As she locked her door behind her, Sarah whispered to herself, "I'll find you, Lily." Cliffhanger. The road to Maple Ridge was quiet as dusk fell. Sarah's headlights cut through the darkness, but she felt eyes watching her from the shadows. What secrets awaited in that small town? And would the past stay buried or come crashing? Back with a vengeance? Sarah's journey had only just begun. The small town of Maple Ridge looked peaceful under the soft glow of the setting sun. Sarah's car rolled slowly down the main street, past quaint shops with hand-painted signs and cozy houses lined with flower gardens. But beneath the calm surface, an uneasy feeling gnawed at her. She parked near the local diner and stepped out, her bag slung over her shoulder. The air smelled of fresh coffee and baked bread, a stark contrast to the heavy weight on her heart. Searching for answers, Sarah's first stop was the town's police station. The building was old, with faded bricks and peeling paint, but the officer behind the desk greeted her warmly. "I'm looking into the disappearance of a girl named Lily Whitman," Sarah said. "I have permission from her father to investigate." The officer's expression tightened. "That case is still open, but it's cold. Been 10 years, no solid leads." Sarah nodded. "Can I see the files?" "Cold case files?" The officer handed her a thick folder. Inside were photos of Lily, a bright-eyed girl with a shy smile, and reports from detectives who had worked the case. Sarah scanned the pages, noting details. Lily was last seen near the old forest trail outside town, where children sometimes played. Witnesses spoke of a strange man seen nearby, but descriptions were vague. One report mentioned a hidden diary Lily had kept. It was never found. An old friend as Sarah left the station, a voice called her name. "Sarah? Is that you?" She turned to see an elderly woman approaching. Her face was kind, but lined with years of worry. "I'm Margaret. I used to know Lily's family," the woman said softly. Sarah felt a sudden hope. "Do you remember anything about Lily's disappearance?" Margaret sighed deeply. "She was a sweet child, full of life. But the town kept secrets, things people didn't want to talk about. The forest trail," Margaret pointed toward the edge of town. "The last place Lily was seen was near the old forest trail. No one goes there anymore. It's said to be haunted." Sarah swallowed her fear, but felt a surge of determination. "I have to see it." Walking toward the trail, the air grew colder, and the trees thickened. The path was overgrown, tangled with roots and fallen leaves. As she ventured deeper, shadows lengthened, and the forest seemed to whisper with forgotten voices. A hidden clue. Suddenly, Sarah spotted something half buried in the dirt. A small, worn, leather-bound book. She picked it up carefully. Opening it, she gasped. It was a diary, and on the first page, the name Lily Whitman was written in delicate handwriting. Her hands trembled as she read the first entry. "I have a secret. Someone is watching me. I don't know who, but I feel scared. Unseen." As the diary entries grew more urgent, describing strange noises at night and shadowy figures near the house. Lily wrote about a man who had come to visit, someone she didn't trust. Sarah's heart pounded. Could this be the key to finding her? Suddenly, a rustling sound broke the silence. Sarah spun around, but saw only trees swaying in the wind. Danger. Close as night fell, Sarah hurried back to town. The diary was her most valuable clue, but it raised more questions than answers. At her motel, she locked the door and placed the diary on the table. Her phone buzzed. It was a message from David Miller. "Be careful, Sarah. Some truths are dangerous." Sarah's skin prickled. Who was warning her, and why? A mysterious stranger. That night, a knock at the door startled her. Peering through the peephole, she saw a man in a dark coat. "Can I help you?" Sarah asked cautiously. The man smiled but didn't answer. He slipped a folded paper under the door and disappeared into the shadows. Sarah picked up the note. Written in hurried scrawl were the words, "Stop looking for Lily. It's not safe." Conflicted and afraid, Sarah's resolve wavered for a moment. Was she putting herself in danger? Should she turn back? But then she thought of George Whitman, waiting for answers, and the little girl who had vanished without a trace. Her fear hardened into courage. She folded the note carefully and whispered, "I will find you, Lily. no matter what. Cliffhanger as. Sarah closed the motel curtains. She didn't see the shadow watching from across the street, a figure disappearing into the night, unseen but never far. The secrets of Maple Ridge were deeper and darker than she imagined, and someone was desperate to keep them hidden. The air in Maple Ridge was thick with tension as dawn broke. Sarah sat in the dim light of her motel room, clutching Lily's diary. The mysterious warnings and shadowy figures haunted her mind, but now she was closer than ever to uncovering the truth. She knew she couldn't do it alone. She needed to find allies, people who cared enough to help expose the secrets buried for so long. A late-night visitor. Just as Sarah was about to leave, the door creaked open. George Whitman stood there, his eyes weary but determined. "I came as soon as I could," he said softly. "Thank you for not giving up." Sarah smiled, feeling the weight of his hope. "We'll find her, George. Together." The hidden room, George, led Sarah to a small abandoned house on the outskirts of town, once the Whitman family's summer home. It was empty and silent, but something about it felt alive. In the dusty attic behind a loose panel, they found a hidden room. Inside were photographs, letters, and strange symbols drawn on the walls. "This was Emily's sanctuary," George whispered. "She was trying to protect Lily." The final clue among the papers was a letter dated just days before Lily disappeared. It spoke of a secret meeting and a warning to keep Lily safe from the man with the scar. Sarah's heart raced. She remembered the diary mentioning a strange visitor. "We have to find this man," Sarah said. Confrontation. Following a tip from Margaret, they tracked down a reclusive man living near the forest. A man with a scar across his cheek. His name was Richard Hale, a former pilot with a dark past. When confronted, Richard denied any involvement, but his eyes betrayed fear. Under pressure, he confessed to trying to take Lily away, believing she held the key to a hidden fortune. Left by Emily. Rescue and reunion with Richard's confession, Sarah and George coordinated with local authorities. A search party found Lily alive but scared in an old cabin deep in the woods. The reunion was emotional and tearful. Lily was weak but safe. George hugged his daughter tightly, whispering words of love and regret. The lesson as Sarah watched. The family heal, she realized the story wasn't just about mystery or danger. It was about hope, resilience, and the power of kindness. George looked at Sarah and said, "Your courage saved my family." Sarah smiled, knowing that sometimes the smallest acts can change lives forever. Epilogue. Back in the city, Sarah returned to her life with a new purpose. She knew that even when the world seemed dark and uncertain, there was always light waiting to be found, in kindness, bravery, and human connection. This concludes the story. She missed her flight to help a stranger. Then everything changed, with a complete arc, deep emotions, suspense, and a powerful lesson. The end.